Hey everyone, Charlie here. Hope you're all doing well. So it has been almost 1 year since I've come to Japan, and one of the most challenging parts of this transition to a new country, a new home, has of course been learning the language. But what I do want to talk about today are 4 things that I have learned so far from studying Japanese that I guess I didn't really expect. Maybe if some of them I should have. So the first thing I want to talk about is how important Japanese can be to your daily life in Japan. Now I know that sounds like a no-brainer, but there are so many videos out there, so many articles out there that are saying, oh, you don't really need Japanese to live happily in Japan. There are plenty of people who have lived in Tokyo for a long time, people who have lived in the hub cities in particular, Nagoya, Osaka, Kyoto, Tokyo, Yokohama, that get along perfectly fine. I think that whether it is in Nagoya or more rural area in the Inaka where I'm living, that learning Japanese can lead to a richer life, I guess I would say, if you're planning to come here to live. Before I was able to understand much of my surroundings or much of what anybody was saying to me, whether it was like convenience store clerks or just random people I met on the street, most of my interactions with people and businesses and things like that here were very, very superficial. Now certainly this is not a problem if you live in an area where there is a big expat population or you work in like as an ALT or something where you're always in contact with other foreigners. And if you are fine with just having foreign friends, then by all means go for it. But I would really recommend that if you want to live a very rich and much easier life, I really urge you to make learning Japanese a priority. The second thing that I was really sort of blown away for some reason to discover is that learning Japanese makes me a much better English teacher. This I don't think is necessarily all that true for younger students, although it is really fantastic to be able to understand when your really young kids are saying that they need to go to the bathroom instead of then exploding all over your classroom floor. But I found particularly when working with my adult students or my upper level, like high school students, that having a working knowledge of Japanese it makes it a lot easier to explain concepts if you can say, okay, well, here's what this looks like in English and this is what you can relate it to in Japanese, and it sort of speeds along that process of explaining, so you don't have to waste so much time on just getting the meaning across, right? Related to that is, at least when I started teaching adults not too long ago, I found that I didn't really know what I should be teaching them. Just because as someone who has always taught kids and had the curriculum provided to me, I didn't really know where to begin. But then I found that by learning things that I really wanted to know how to say, or that were really important for me to say in Japanese, that oftentimes those same things were what my students needed or wanted to learn in English. So it gives you some perspective and can give you some new tools for being an effective English teacher, I would say. The third thing that I've learned since really seriously beginning to study Japanese here about 6 months ago, I guess, was when I got my head out of my butt, is how frequently used the passive form of language is used here. It's been it was really difficult at first for me to break out of the mindset that passive is very bad, right? As a writer, or you don't even have to be a writer, in any discipline, right? In English, writing in passive language is really kind of a no-no. It makes for slow reading. Oftentimes it's used by people who are trying to make themselves sound more important. Now, when I understand like how much it is used in Japanese, it's still kind of like a weird, there's just some dissonance when I think about it a little bit. But in fact, passive language in Japanese can sort of make for a more succinct, more eloquent speech. So that's something to keep in mind, particularly for you people who are sort of literarily inclined, I guess, planning to come over here. And the last thing I learned, and I think this can probably be applied to language learning in general, is that learning Japanese is not, unfortunately, this constant like, upward process, right? Yeah, you're improving, but then sometimes it feels like you fall off a cliff and then you suddenly, I don't know, you suddenly drop and you're like, oh my god, why am I not understanding this? Like, it gets in your head, you're going a little crazy, your confidence goes to shit, so you stop studying for a little bit, but then you're like, oh, okay, for whatever reason you get that confidence back, and then you shoot up really, really high to far above where you were before, and then suddenly it drops again, and it goes up again, and it drops again. So it's just like, learning Japanese is not this like linear process, right, where you go from knowing nothing to fluency. And accepting that, I think, has made me probably a lot happier. So anyway, guys, those are the 4 things that I have learned about learning Japanese, right, since I've been here this past year. What are some of the things you learned about learning Japanese or another language that you have spent a lot of time learning? Let me know down in the comment section below. Would love to hear from you. And thanks always for watching, guys. If you did like this video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you very soon indeed. Cheers.